Hey, it's Lisa Rothman, the founder of StopFamilyConflict.com. Today's video was inspired by a question that a mom at a workshop that I was teaching asked as I was sharing a general principle about the importance of transparency in all relationships, but particularly when speaking with children, and particularly when we as the adults are uncertain about an outcome or don't know how to handle a situation. And she said, "But surely, Lisa, you wouldn't do this with a little kid, would you?" And I said, "Oh, yes, I would." And so, for starters, let me talk about the benefits of transparency as I see them, and then share a story with you about why I think it's especially important with little kids to tell them when we don't know what's going on or we think an outcome's uncertain. And I want to start by saying that I understand where she's coming from, because there's a concern about when we're transparent. Baseline, there's a concern that we're going to freak somebody out if we don't know what we're doing. And surely that concern gets magnified when the person we're talking about is so little and so helpless. Can they stand knowing that their parent doesn't know what's going on? So I understand where the concern is coming from. And here's why I think it's important to be transparent with people of all ages, and particularly little kids, because it's transparency that is one of the pillars of trust. And if I am transparent with someone, they can trust that I'm not hiding things from them. This invites vulnerability and connection and engagement, and they will disclose things to me because they trust that I disclose things to them. And of course, this is particularly important to me given my own history. For those of you who don't know, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 5, and my parents were not transparent with me about, or really anybody else, about what her diagnosis meant, because it had spread to her lymph nodes. And then they were also not transparent about the fact that she was having scans every year, and it showed that the cancer was spreading through her body. And so they did this, of course, out of love and care for everybody involved. But this lack of transparency was such a profound breach of trust. It's taken me decades to recover from the path that they went down with the lack of transparency, which is why I have such intensity about this issue. All right, so I want to say, in terms of when I am being transparent with people, I want to be transparent from a place of being as grounded as possible within myself. And the message that I want to share is that while it is true that I don't know how to handle the situation and it feels uncertain to me, it is my intent that regardless of what happens, despite my not knowing what to do, that I am not going to be abandoning the person. It is my intent to stay with them, holding their hand as we navigate this uncertainty together. Because that way, even if I'm feeling alarmed, at least the other person isn't feeling alone. And this is, of course, another reason why being transparent is so important, because if I'm not transparent with the other person, I'm very alone and I'm holding on to this thing and the other person doesn't know. And this creates distance and confusion and bracing and all sorts of things. So I want to be transparent. As I'm talking, I'm realizing this, not only for the sake of the relationship with the other person, for their benefit, but for my own benefit. So I'm not feeling so alone, even if I am feeling alarmed. Okay, and so now here's the story that I shared with the mom of the 3-year-old, because her child was 3. She said, surely I wouldn't be transparent with him if I'm feeling uncertain about an outcome or hanging out in the not knowing. And let me just share one other piece about why I think it's helpful, particularly with young kids, to share when we don't know, because it shows them that I, as the adult, can handle uncertainty. I'm not avoiding it. I'm not scared of it. Because don't you want to have a kid that isn't scared of uncertain things? Because let's face it, isn't most of life totally uncertain, and the outcome, although ultimately known, we're all going to end up dead. In terms of how we're getting there, total unknown, so much uncertainty. I think one of the greatest skills that we can cultivate in ourselves is to have as relaxed as possible, a relationship with uncertainty and the unknown, so that our kids can too. Because I think when we're relaxed about it, that's when we're able to access our creativity. In terms of having a sense of real security, that's where I start thinking like, okay, that's how we could actually navigate and make our way through the dark, scary woods, is if we can feel as relaxed as possible and as connected with each other and ourselves as we navigate it. Okay, so now, without further ado, here's the story that I shared with her that I'm going to share with all of you. Okay, so this happened when my kids were little. I think Ezra was 5 and Murray was like 2.5, maybe. So he was really, really little, 2.5 or 3, sort of just coming into like when kids remember things and are, really like he's, engaged. He has enough, he's got enough language online to, understand, what's going on. And we were visiting my father and it was time to go. And there was the details are lost in the mists of time, but there was something about we wanted to bring an object up to the car, and there was a conflict, a dispute between Ezra and Murray about how we were going to take the object up to the car. And it defied simple problem solving. And so I sat with them. I remember I was sitting there in my dad's living room on the floor with both of them. So I was as eye to eye with them as possible. And we were trying to figure out a way to get this object up to the car. And at a certain point also, because let's face it, my kids were 3 and 5. I'd been in that long, dark tunnel for so long. I was not as creative as I would be now when I'm well rested. At a certain point, I said, I am out of ideas. I don't know how to handle this. I just don't know how to handle this in a way that works for all of us. And I feel so sad about it. And I wish I had more ideas. My father overheard this. He went ballistic. Lisa, how dare you? Don't tell the kids that you don't know what to do. If you don't know what to do, who does know what to do? Well, I'll tell you who knows what to do. Grandpa knows what to do. And he grabbed the object and he marched up to the road with it. And both of the kids started to wail. Now, Ezra already had a relationship with Grandpa. They were firmly bonded. He'd spent the night at Grandpa's house a lot. But Murray and him did not have that much of a relationship at this point. And I don't know, I can't say for sure how much this incident impacted Murray, but I will say Murray requested to never be left alone with Grandpa ever again. Yeah. So, whereas I think that the being with the not knowing, and if, it did ultimately end up with a less than ideal situation, the fact that I'd shared, oh gosh, I am just out of ideas, that conveys the message, we don't always get solutions to problems that work for everybody. And that's really a sad bummer thing, but it's not something we need to get. If we're going to be mad, we can, but more likely we're going to be sad and we're going to grieve together. And that then gives kids the opportunity to be in companionship, feeling their feelings of sadness that, sometimes things just aren't going to work out and we don't know. And the future is uncertain. And adults don't know how to handle it sometimes. Kids don't know how to handle it sometimes. And the point is we can be together with it. All right. So until next time, may you continue on your own transparency journey. And if you get stuck, I invite you to come to a conflict repair cafe. I do them on a regular basis. There will be a link to them in the description of this video. And if you get stuck or you think, oh gosh, there's something I would never share with anybody in my family or with a child, come and let's see what the possibilities are. Because I've got a lot of trust that we can figure out some way you could communicate it that would connect you with yourself as well as them. All right, until next time. Bye for now.